Have you ever wondered which places in Canada are facing the most surprising struggles? It's easy to think of Canada as stable and strong, but certain provinces are dealing with unique challenges that might shock you. What's happening in these areas to make their futures so uncertain? Why are people leaving beautiful, scenic regions in droves, and which provinces are grappling with an aging population, job losses, and even climate challenges? Today, we're diving deep into the 10 fastest collapsing provinces in Canada, uncovering the surprising stories that make these places struggle despite their natural beauty and charm. Number 10. Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia is an interesting mix of beauty, history, and a few serious economic challenges. Although it's famous for its stunning coastlines, lobster fisheries, and vibrant cities like Halifax, this province faces issues that might surprise you. Did you know that Nova Scotia's population growth has been slower than the national average for years? In 2022, the province saw about a 2.7% increase, largely thanks to immigration. However, many younger Nova Scotians still leave for better job opportunities elsewhere in Canada, particularly Alberta and Ontario. Fishing, tourism, and seasonal industries dominate the economy here, creating a cycle of high employment fluctuations. Between October and April, you'll see a rise in seasonal job loss. Halifax is thriving, with its tech and healthcare industries growing, but the rest of the province struggles to keep up. A whopping 35% of Nova Scotians live in rural areas, where the job market is tight. The government's trying to bring in more young families, but how well that will work is still up in the air. Meanwhile, efforts to diversify the economy have brought in some small wins, but it's an uphill battle to keep younger generations around. If you love the idea of stunning landscapes, affordable housing, and cozy communities, Nova Scotia's got it all. Yet, its economic stability needs a little help to match its beautiful charm. Number 9. Prince Edward Island, PEI. Let's talk about Canada's smallest province, Prince Edward Island, or PEI. PEI might be famous for Anne of Green Gables and those iconic red sand beaches, but it faces real economic challenges. First, PEI's population is just over 160,000 people, about the size of a small city elsewhere in Canada. Agriculture is a big deal here. It's known as Canada's garden province since it grows roughly 25% of Canada's potatoes. But when you rely so heavily on agriculture and tourism, you're a little at the mercy of the seasons and even the weather. Tourism is booming, especially in summer, bringing in about 1.6 million visitors annually. That's nearly 10 times the island's population. But the pandemic hit that industry hard, and recovery hasn't been easy. The job market on PEI is a bit limited outside these main sectors. So many young people head to other provinces to find work. The government's trying to tackle this by attracting remote workers and offering incentives to new residents, which has helped. But the real test will be whether PEI can keep people around long-term, especially with the looming threat of climate change impacting those beautiful coastlines. If you're looking for a quiet place with amazing seafood and friendly locals, PEI's the spot, as long as you're ready for the ups and downs that come with it. Number 8. New Brunswick. Next up is New Brunswick, a province full of small-town charm and natural beauty but facing some unique challenges. With a population of about 800,000, New Brunswick has a serious age problem. Nearly 20% of the population is over 65, and young people are moving away faster than you can say maple syrup. New Brunswick's economy relies heavily on forestry, fishing, and manufacturing. Now, that sounds solid, but here's the catch. These industries are not as robust as they once were, leading to limited job opportunities, especially in rural areas. Fredericton, St. John, and Moncton are doing well, but outside these cities, it's a different story. Over 46% of New Brunswickers live in rural areas, which means fewer job options and a harder time attracting new investments. The government has been proactive, investing in sectors like tech and healthcare, trying to modernize the economy. Moncton, for instance, has become a bit of a tech hub, attracting new businesses and remote workers, but that growth has yet to spread throughout the province. New Brunswick's natural beauty and quiet lifestyle are huge draws, especially as more people look to escape city life. The challenge, however, is to create enough opportunities to make staying here a viable long-term choice. For those who love forests, rivers, and a slower pace, New Brunswick has a lot to offer. But there's no denying it has its work cut out for it. Number 7. Newfoundland and Labrador. Heading east, Newfoundland and Labrador is Canada's easternmost province and the only one with its own unique time zone, 30 minutes ahead of Atlantic time. This province's story is a mix of rugged beauty, offshore oil riches, and a few hard economic truths. Newfoundland and Labrador has a population of around 522,000, which sounds cozy, but they're grappling with some big issues. The province relies heavily on offshore oil, which once brought in massive revenues, but fluctuating oil prices have shaken the economy. In 2020, oil prices plummeted, and the impact was huge. Oil royalties dropped to just $109 million from $1.4 billion a few years prior. This hit the government's budget hard, leading to debt and cuts in services. Another challenge? The aging population. Almost 23% of residents are over 65, one of the highest rates in Canada, while younger folks leave for jobs in other provinces. This brain drain has long-term effects, putting a strain on healthcare and slowing economic growth. Still, there's hope on the horizon with investments in green energy, particularly wind power, aiming to diversify the economy. There's no place quite like Newfoundland and Labrador with its jaw-dropping landscapes and close-knit communities. But this province needs serious economic adjustments to keep its bright future alive. Number 6. Manitoba. Let's talk about Manitoba, a province where cold winters meet warm community vibes. Manitoba has a population of about 1.4 million, with Winnipeg as its lively hub. Agriculture has been at the heart of Manitoba's economy for decades. Wheat, canola, and hogs are staples. But relying heavily on farming has its risks. Climate change is affecting crop yields, and volatile global markets mean prices can swing dramatically. In recent years, the agriculture sector has faced a decline, bringing ripple effects across rural areas where farming jobs were once abundant. Winnipeg itself is doing pretty well, with growth in sectors like finance, healthcare, and education, but northern Manitoba is struggling. Areas like Thompson and Flin Flon, which rely on mining, face challenges with lower metal prices and limited job growth, leading some people to leave in search of work. Manitoba also has a relatively high poverty rate, with about 11% of residents living below the poverty line, which is higher than the national average. The government has made efforts to create a more diversified economy, and the tech sector is seeing some growth, which is great for the future. But Manitoba needs more than tech to balance out its economy and bring long-term stability. If you love wide-open prairies, vibrant arts, and a place where everyone knows everyone, Manitoba is a welcoming choice, though it's working hard to shake off some economic chill. Number 5. Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan, known for its endless skies and golden wheat fields, is a province of natural beauty and economic resilience, with a few challenges thrown into the mix. Home to about 1.2 million people, Saskatchewan's economy is highly resource-driven, with agriculture, oil, and potash mining as its main players. It's even nicknamed the breadbasket of Canada because it produces nearly 50% of Canada's total wheat. But here's the catch. This dependency on commodities means the economy is closely tied to global market prices, which can be as unpredictable as Saskatchewan's weather. When oil prices dip, as they did in 2020, jobs in the oil sector take a hit, impacting communities like Lloydminster and Estevan, where oil is a major employer. And while Saskatchewan has seen some population growth, it's uneven, with rural areas facing a decline as people move to Regina and Saskatoon for better job opportunities. Over 34% of Saskatchewan's workforce is employed in rural areas, but as small-town economies shrink, many younger residents are opting to leave. Recently, there's been a push to diversify into tech and renewable energy. If it works, it could help buffer against the swings of global markets. Saskatchewan offers a slower pace, stunning landscapes, and friendly communities. But it's a place working hard to balance its love for agriculture with the need for economic security. Number 4. Quebec. Quebec is a province of contrasts. It's Canada's largest province by area, boasts a strong culture, and is home to Montreal, a major global city. With a population of 8.5 million, Quebec has a vibrant economy, especially in tech, finance, and aerospace. But regional differences within Quebec create some challenges. While Montreal and Quebec City thrive, rural areas, especially in northern Quebec, are dealing with economic stagnation and high unemployment. Language laws play a role here too. French is the official language, and while it's a big part of Quebec's identity, it can deter some businesses and professionals from moving in. Quebec also has the highest tax rates in Canada, which helps fund strong public services but can make the cost of living a bit steep. Interestingly, Quebec has the highest unionization rate in Canada at around 40%, which brings both strengths and complexities to its labor market. The province's tech sector is booming, with Montreal becoming a hub for AI and video game development, attracting talent from all over. But outside these areas, many communities are seeing slow economic growth and population decline. For anyone who loves a rich cultural scene, scenic landscapes, and a unique identity within Canada, Quebec is a dream. But it's also a place with regional challenges that can make it tough to find opportunities outside major cities. Number 3. Ontario. Ontario is Canada's most populated province, with nearly 15 million people. But did you know that life in Northern Ontario is vastly different from the bustling cities in the south? Northern Ontario, which spans over 800,000 square kilometers, has only about 800,000 residents. That's less than 6% of the province's population. Many northern communities like Thunder Bay, Sudbury, and Timmins were built on mining and forestry. But as these industries have declined, so have the local economies. Job opportunities are limited, and young people are increasingly moving south to cities like Toronto and Ottawa. In fact, from 2016 to 2021, Northern Ontario's population grew by only about 0.6%, compared to the province's average of 5.8%. This has created an aging population challenge, with seniors making up nearly 20% of the region's population. The high cost of goods and services, which need to be shipped long distances, makes life expensive for many residents, while the lack of healthcare access in remote areas further adds to the struggle. To combat these issues, the government has been investing in regional infrastructure projects and renewable energy, hoping to create more job opportunities. Northern Ontario is stunning, with endless lakes, forests, and natural wonders. But for those who call it home, the economic reality is a tough one to balance. Number 2. British Columbia. British Columbia might be one of Canada's most desirable provinces, but not everywhere shares Vancouver's coastal prosperity. The interior and northern regions of British Columbia are facing their own challenges. These areas cover a vast territory, but together, they're home to only about 1.6 million people. Forestry and mining have long been the backbones of these economies, but issues like global lumber tariffs, environmental regulations, and dwindling forest resources have hit the forestry sector hard. In 2020 alone, the forestry industry saw job losses exceeding 4,000, impacting towns like Prince George, Quesnel, and Williams Lake. Additionally, the region faces increased wildfire risk, which not only threatens lives and homes, but disrupts businesses and the natural resources that these communities rely on. Climate change is making wildfires more intense and frequent, creating a sense of uncertainty for people living in the area. Housing prices, although more affordable than Vancouver, have been steadily increasing, and northern BC also deals with higher transportation and energy costs due to its remote location. The provincial government has invested in regional diversification efforts, promoting tech hubs in smaller cities and Indigenous tourism. For those who love the mountains and wilderness, the BC interior and north offer incredible beauty. But surviving economically in these areas requires resilience and adaptability. Number 1. Nunavut. Nunavut is like no other place in Canada, both in beauty and in the unique challenges it faces. Established as a territory in 1999, it's one of the youngest parts of Canada and also one of the most isolated. Nunavut covers over 2 million square kilometers, nearly a fifth of Canada's landmass. but has a population of only about 39,000. That's less than some neighborhoods in major cities. Life here is an adventure, but it's far from easy. The cost of living is incredibly high due to the remoteness. For example, a gallon of milk can cost upwards of $12 in some communities, and groceries are often shipped in by plane. Housing shortages are also severe, with overcrowding rates as high as 30% in some areas, leading to serious health and social issues. Employment opportunities are limited, mostly in government, public services, and small-scale tourism, but job options are scarce in other fields. Climate change is another pressing issue, impacting traditional hunting and fishing practices and eroding permafrost, which threatens infrastructure. The government is working to improve healthcare, education, and housing, but progress is slow, partly due to Nunavut's geography and climate. This is a place for those who truly embrace the wild, with endless natural beauty and close-knit communities. But for many, the economic and social challenges make life in Nunavut one of the toughest in Canada.